If there is no struggle, there is no progress. And this is a quote from Frederick Douglass, an African American who accomplished so much despite the many odds set against him. He crossed over every barrier set in his way. Frederick Douglass overcame through personal responsibility because he endured all the trials and tribulations put in front of him. And he used it as motivation to make a better life for himself as well as many others. In the biography, The Narrative of Frederick Douglass took us on a personal journey through his life and the challenges he faced. He had people who supported him, and also he had people whose life goal it was to never see him succeed in anything. Frederick Douglass overcame through personal responsibility. He was a noble man with great faith, and in his autobiography, his life was displayed for millions of readers to experience exactly what he went through. Frederick Douglass was born into slavery. His name before his wife, Anna Murray, changed it was Frederick Augusta Washington Bailey. Frederick Douglass was unsure of a lot of things, such as his birthplace, the year he was born in, but one thing he was confident in was that he would not become a failure. Frederick Douglass is respectably known as being responsible for the abolishment of slavery and also protecting the rights of freed slaves. He spoke so well that some people doubted he ever was a slave. Frederick Douglass fought hard to not become a product of his environment. He overcame through personal responsibility. Frederick Douglass made reading and writing his main priority during his childhood because he knew this was the only way he would ever make it in life. The Narrative of Frederick Douglass offered readers a front row seat into the life and times of Frederick Douglass. From birth, he was faced with many adversities. He seemed to accomplish each and every goal he set for himself. His master's wife, Mrs. Auld, snuck and taught him the alphabet, how to sound out, how to spell words with 3 to 5 letters, until her husband threatened her to do it again. Master Auld told his wife, in Frederick Douglass's presence, "If you teach that nigga how to read, there will be no keeping him. It will forever unfit him to be a slave." He went on to tell his wife that you can't teach a slave how to read, it's considered unlawful. By that point, Frederick Douglass already was familiar with the basics of grammar and how to sound out words. He began to teach himself. Frederick Douglass figured out that knowledge was the one thing a man could not take away from him. They could take away his mother, his father, but once knowledge is obtained, then it's yours. During the early 1800s, many African Americans were unaware of how to spell their name. So for Frederick Douglass to have already accomplished it and so much more through his adulthood is an epitome of overcoming challenges through personal responsibility. In 1841, he addressed the convention of Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society in Nantucket, and he not only wrote his successful autobiography, The Narrative of Frederick Douglass, he also wrote other literary works such as My Bondage, My Freedom, and also The Life and Times of Frederick Douglass, which are still being discussed in classrooms all throughout the United States of America. And also, while the Civil War was still active, he argued profusely for the emancipation of slaves and assisted in the recruitment of colored men in Massachusetts for manufacturing jobs. Frederick Douglass held a lot of positions in life. He was a secretary for the San Domingo Commission. He was a recorder of deeds for the District of Columbia, and he also served as the United States Minister in Haiti. Frederick Douglass once said, "In a composite nation like ours, as before our law, there shall be no rich, no poor, no high, no white, no black, but common country, common citizenship, equal rights, and a common destiny." He fought hard and diligently to ensure that everyone was looked at as equals and were on the same accord. Frederick Douglass paved the way for leaders such as Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Barack Obama to break more barriers than that were set before us to not succeed. Thus, with the many obstacles that presented themselves throughout his lifetime, Frederick Douglass was still able to transform from slave to successful black leader, and this shows firsthand that he overcame personal responsibility.